When I saw this particular video, I was super excited about it. Do you know why? Because I feel like these are some of the things we don't see in the media. These are some of the things a lot of people do not say. When you hear someone say, oh, they're traveling to the UK, we all think it is all rosy and sweet, and you know, those nice beautiful pictures we get to see. We never get to see this part of the UK, and I'm super excited and I cannot wait to actually see this right with you guys. So I'll be dropping my thoughts during the course of this video and after this video. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm Ogechi. Welcome to my channel. This is Ogechi Reaction. Thank you for stopping by. If it's your first time here, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell, and drop a comment if you live in the UK. Can you attest to this? Like, is this actually true? We're going to be seeing this together, so let's dive straight into it. Okay. The hidden face of the UK.
Poverty is deeply rooted in the UK, with more than a decade of cuts meaning millions of families across the country are struggling through financial hardship. Many more are being pushed below the breadline as the cost of living crisis hits low-income households the hardest. Around 14.4 million people were living in poverty in the UK in 2021-2022, according to the government's official statistics. That is around 1 in 5 people. A total of 4.2 million children were affected. These harrowing figures were captured before the cost of living crisis took its toll on the country. The situation now is likely far worse. Research from the JRF has found 3.8 million people experienced the most extreme form of poverty destitution in 2022. That is a 61% increase since 2019. More than 1 million of those affected were children. It's 20 years and 6 prime ministers since UK last saw a sustained fall in poverty. Yes, really, millions of Brits will be cut off from energy this winter because they can't afford bills. Many people are struggling to afford the basics to live and rely on charities and food banks to survive. Here we explain the facts and figures, and what the experts say needs to be done to tackle UK poverty for good. Around 14.4 million people were living in poverty in 2021-2022, according to the government's annual Households Below Average Income report. This includes 4.2 million children, which is almost 1 in 329%. There are also 8.1 million working-age adults and 2.1 million pensioners living in poverty. Around 2 in every 10 adults are in poverty in the UK, and about 3 in every 10 children are in poverty. Over the last decade, the number of children living in poverty has risen by around 600,000, and the number of pensioners living in poverty has risen by around 500,000. Overall poverty rates in the UK have been fairly persistent for the last 3 decades, showing poverty in the UK is deeply entrenched. There are high rates of poverty for people in work too. Over a half of people in poverty lived in a family where at least one adult is in work, 54%. Over 2/3 of children in poverty lived in a working family, 71%. In 2021-22, 6 million people, or 4 in 10 of those in poverty, were in very deep poverty, with an income far below the standard poverty line. More than twice as many, over 12 million people, had experienced very deep poverty in at least 1 year between 2017-18 and 2020-18 and 2020-21. The number of people experiencing the most extreme form of poverty destitution in the UK has more than doubled in the last 5 years, up from 1,550,000 in 2017. Meanwhile, the number of children experiencing destitution has almost tripled. The cost of living crisis means the current poverty figures are likely to be much higher. The Trussell Trust saw record numbers of people seeking help between April 2022 and March 2023, with more than 760,000 people forced to turn to the charity's food banks for the first time. That is more than the population of Sheffield. What causes poverty? Life events, like illness or redundancy, can cause poverty. But it is mostly caused by structural and systemic issues and exacerbated by increasing living costs, creating a cycle that keeps people trapped in hardship that can include unemployment and low-paid, insecure work. People who have not had easy access to training or education can struggle to land a secure job, making it harder to escape poverty. The UK's welfare system also makes it difficult for those struggling to get a decent income. Social Security is not enough for people in work, looking for work, or dealing with health issues to avoid poverty, according to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. Universal credit claimants spend PS35 of the money needed to afford essentials each week, the JRF and Trussell Trust have found. This means they do not have enough money to survive. Benefits can also be difficult to access, and in some cases people risk lowering their income by getting a job. It's particularly difficult for people dealing with mental health issues like addiction to escape poverty, and people who have been in prison can find it difficult to get a job to support themselves. How has the cost of living crisis affected poverty? The cost of living crisis is having a substantial impact on poverty rates in the UK, with hundreds of thousands of people being plunged into poverty. In its 2024 report on UK poverty, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation warned, in short, poverty in the UK is deepening. The deeper we look, the faster it is rising. People in poverty are moving further and further below the poverty line. The Office for Budget Responsibility warned of a drop in living standards of 3.5% by 2024-2025 compared to pre-pandemic levels. While this is half the peak-to-trough fall expected in March, it still represents the largest reduction in real living standards since ONS records began in the 1950s.
The cost of living in the UK is quite high. To be very honest, it is very high, and this is even making it even worse. Now, a lot of times when we see things on the media, especially when we see people that get to travel to the UK, see people living in the UK and, you know, all those sort of things, you see beautiful pictures, even though we know they work really hard to maintain a particular lifestyle, we know that it is usually not easy because the cost of living is high. So people sometimes get to do 2-3 jobs to be able to sustain themselves. And according to these statistics, right from 2022 or 2021, the poverty level is deepening, like it is getting worse by the day. People that are poor are getting poorer. Why? Because of issues like this. This is actually very tough to see, because what we see on the media is very different from these things. We don't get to see videos like this because we all think it's all rosy, it's all beautiful. Oh, you just need to get 2 jobs, you'll be fine. And in some cases, even children get to suffer it more. And it's really bad.
1950s. The PS2O uplift in universal credit during the pandemic took some families out of poverty, but this help was taken away in October 2021, just as the cost of living crisis started hitting people's bank accounts. Benefits rose in line with inflation in April 2023, but it is still not enough to cover the cost of living. Universal credit claimants are PS140 short of the money needed to afford the essentials each month, even after benefits increase, according to recent analysis from the Trussell Trust and JRF. As a result, people are struggling to afford food, heat their homes, and pay rent. Benefits claimants are 6% worse off in real terms than they were in 2019, according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Find out more here. Poverty impacts people's mental and physical health, putting further pressure on an NHS which is already at breaking point. The NHS Confederation warned that there is a risk of devastating and long-lasting impacts on people's health and well-being as a result of the cost of living crisis. Poverty is linked with malnutrition, obesity, eating disorders, and depression. This in turn impacts the demand for NHS services to treat the acute and chronic conditions caused by hunger and unhealthy diets. NHS spending on obesity is expected to rise to PS 9.7 billion per year by 2050, and malnutrition is estimated to cost the NHS PS 19.6 billion per year. Poverty drives chronic stress as a result of people worrying about how to afford living costs day to day, increases feelings of hopelessness, makes it more difficult to access healthcare, and lowers self-esteem. That stress and difficulty affording nutritious food also means those living in poverty are more likely to experience health problems while finding it tougher to get treatment. This is worsened by soaring fuel bills amid the energy crisis. People in poverty are also less likely to have strong social support networks around them because all their energy has to be used to survive with few resources. This puts them at higher risk of homelessness and addiction problems. Children living in poverty are more at risk of being exploited by or becoming victim to criminal gangs, the Children's Commissioner warned, highlighting local authority failure to stop disadvantaged children from falling through the cracks in services. The life expectancy for people living in the most deprived areas of England is at the lowest.
I think this poverty thing affects children the most because, first of all, they get exploited on, they get, you know, I mean, it's a lot of disadvantages more on the kids than on the adults, because I mean, when you're poor, you're vulnerable. Whatever comes, you go with it. Especially as a child, a lot of them suffer malnutrition. They live on the streets. Their health is at risk. Their safety is at risk. It's a lot, to be honest. I think the children suffer it more. Yeah.
The lowest rate since 2011. Between 2018 and 2020, women were expected to live for 9 fewer months and men for 4 fewer months than they had been in 2011 to 2013. In England and Scotland, the death rate from COVID in the most deprived areas was more than twice that of the least deprived areas. Poverty impacts people's mental and physical health, putting further pressure on an NHS which is already at breaking point. The NHS Confederation warned that there is a risk of devastating and long-lasting impacts on people's health and well-being as a result of the cost of living crisis. Poverty is linked with malnutrition, obesity, eating disorders, and depression. This in turn impacts the demand for NHS services to treat the acute and chronic conditions caused by hunger and unhealthy diets. NHS spending on obesity is expected to rise to PS 9.7 billion per year by 2050, and malnutrition is estimated to cost the NHS PS 19.6 billion per year. Poverty drives chronic stress as a result of people worrying about how to afford living costs day to day, increases feelings of hopelessness, makes it more difficult to access healthcare, and lowers self-esteem.
That's a lot of money.
That stress and difficulty affording nutritious food also means those living in poverty are more likely to experience health problems while finding it tougher to get treatment. This is worsened by soaring fuel bills amid the energy crisis. People in poverty are also less likely to have strong social support networks around them because all their energy has to be used to survive with few resources. This puts them at higher risk of homelessness and addiction problems. Children living in poverty are more at risk of being exploited by or becoming victim to criminal gangs, the Children's Commissioner warned, highlighting local authority failure to stop disadvantaged children from falling through the cracks in services. The life expectancy for people living in the most deprived areas of England is at the lowest rate since 2011. Between 2018 and 2020, women were expected to live for 9 fewer months and men for 4 fewer months than they had been in 2011 to 2013. In England and Scotland, the death rate from COVID in the most deprived areas was more than twice that of the least deprived areas. Where in the UK is most affected by poverty? The latest government data found that the West Midlands had the highest rate of poverty at 27%, followed by the North East and London both 25%, Yorkshire and the Humber, the East Midlands and the North West all 23%. Average poverty rates in England 22%, Wales 22% and Scotland 21% are fairly similar, while it's lower in Northern Ireland at 16%. But child poverty rates are much lower in Scotland at 24% in comparison to England and Wales, where it's 31% in comparison. This is at least in part down to the Scottish child payment, according to the JRF. What would it take to end poverty and the cost of living crisis? Reforming the welfare system is key to cutting poverty rates in the UK. Benefits are not enough to cover the cost of living. Charities and organizations are currently calling on political leaders to guarantee that people will be able to afford the basics they need to live. This is led by the JRF and Trussell Trust, and backed by the Big Issue. Paul Kissack, chief executive of the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, said, "Across our country, we are leaving families freezing in their homes or lacking basic necessities like food and clothing. Such severe hardship should have no place in the UK today, and the British public will not stand for destitution on this scale. The government is not helpless to act, it is choosing not to. Turning the tide on destitution is an urgent moral mission, which speaks to our basic humanity as a country, and we need political leadership for that mission. That is why we are calling for clear proposals from all political parties to address this challenge with the urgency it demands." Sabine Goodwin, coordinator at the Independent Food Aid Network, added, "Guaranteeing people can afford essential costs shouldn't be in question. We need a social security system that's fit for purpose and ensures people can live and thrive whether they can or can't work. The 5-week wait for a first universal credit payment has been shown to push people deeper into debt, driving food bank use and rent arrears. The 2-child limit, which restricts the amount a family can receive in benefits to the first 2 children in a family, should be scrapped too, experts say, if struggling families are to have enough money to live on. That's along with the benefit cap, limiting the total amount people can receive regardless of what their full entitlement is. In March 2020, the government introduced a PS2 a week increase to universal credit payments in response to the COVID-19 crisis. But ministers cut the benefit back to pre-COVID levels in October 2021. Increasing wages across the board as well as strengthening the welfare system and reforming the rental market is key to cutting poverty. Experts agree that the cost of living crisis will not be fully over until wages catch up with inflation.
Thank you so much to Reality. I think the YouTube channel is Reality for this video. It actually shows the reality of what life is in the UK. Yes, there are some people that are living large, enjoying themselves. They are comfortable, they have everything they need, but there are some people that are in abject poverty. And these are the things that social media doesn't show. Like, the media would not show this part of the UK. So this is really eye-opening. I mean, I didn't know the poverty rate was actually this high, to be honest. I didn't know. I knew that there was a poverty, but I didn't know it was this high. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? How do you guys think this can be solved? How do you can, because it's weighing so much on the NHS. These people have, I mean, we know what poverty can cause, especially on the children. It can be really hard on them. And you know, children need to be catered for. They need a home. They need, you know, something very comfortable for them, you know, to be able to live and thrive in. What do you guys think? Please drop your thoughts and comments, opinions in the comment section below. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the post notification bell. I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye.